Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at Encounter. This is the Tier 9 Commonwealth Cruiser. She is currently available through Early Access, but in 2 patches around May, she will be available for anyone to unlock by going through the tech tree line. I have all the ships. I do it because I'm covering it for this video, and hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If you are choosing to obtain it either in early access or when it comes out to full release, or if you're trying to counter it, this information will be helpful for you. So Encounter, let's take a look at the armor layout. The armor layout is 25mm bow and stern. And then the top of the hull is 27, which is a difference of 3mm compared to Cerberus. The bow and the stern are equivalent armor that you would come to expect from Cerberus. The top of the hull is 27mm, and when compared to Cerberus, you'll actually notice that it has 32mm on the top of the hull, and the top of the hull is a significant amount when compared to the area that would be comparable. Now, this is an armor belt in Cerberus, so the armor belt has extra layers underneath that increase the amount of armor effectively on the Citadel. So 38mm plus 152. So your 190mm of penetration that you'll need to bust into the Citadel of the Cerberus. When compared to Encounter, we do not have that luxury. In fact, the Citadel is a more significant percentage of the hull. Basically 50% of the hull above the waterline is a Citadel. And it only has a maximum amount of armor of 152mm. So you get 38mm extra on Cerberus to help withstand broadsides. Both ships will not enjoy broadside battleship AP coming their way, and you want to limit the amount of opportunities that an enemy battleship can punish you in that way. But even a smaller ship could conceivably load AP on your broadside, and if they're at the right range and the right type of gun, it will pin your Citadel on Encounter, and it's on the top, and it's on the outside of the ship. The one nice thing that this does provide is this provides better sap shell protection, and even better high explosive, because high explosive and sap have a maximum amount of effective armor that the hull can have presented to the shell for it to do damage to that hull. So if you're firing high explosive at Encounter, you do want to aim for the top of the hull, because anything that dips to the mid or below, it's going to be absorbed by the 152. So keep that in mind. But if you're loading AP, it'll be easier to penetrate and punish. So Encounter has that one downside. The other downside that's pretty glaring is Encounter only has 3 gun turrets with 3 guns each. So 9 total guns. Cerberus has 12. So it literally just gets 3 extra guns for free. That's hard to ignore when you're deciding, oh, you know, is Encounter worth it if I have Cerberus? Probably not. But if you were playing dedicated tier 9, then of course you would need it. But rank doesn't happen at that tier. I don't believe clan battle happens at that tier. So it's something that is just a weakness that's inherent into Encounter to allow for the more noticeable bump up in effective firepower with Cerberus. Now, that doesn't mean that the firepower is a slouch and useless. It's certainly not that. And the rate of fire is definitely nice, but it's got basically the same rate of fire, and the Cerberus has 3 extra guns. So yeah, Cerberus has a little bit slower, 9.2 versus 8.6, higher alpha, more variety in how you can approach the problem, not quite the same rate of fire. To me, the 3 extra guns are far more valuable than the rate of fire bump that you get in Encounter. Range of the gun, 16.5. The The torpedo protection belt is not impressive, 13%. I think Cerberus has, 19%. So that's a pretty decent amount of damage reduction that you miss out on when you are comparing the encounter to Cerberus. This also has hull-launched torpedoes on either side, so you can make use of that same tactic and you can stealth torpedo, which is nice. This also has the 3 airstrike depth charge, which is great for anti-submarine warfare. I will not encounter a submarine in the replay, so you can't really... There's not going to be any satisfaction in me hunting and killing a sub. But these guys are very good at it. They have multiple tools that are inherently strong against submarines. So to me, that communicates that you need to go anti-submarine first, because that's your #1 skill or attribute that you bring to your team. And by doing that, you will increase your main battery and your awareness, and you'll play intelligently and effectively. AA is pretty good. Maneuverability is pretty good. The speed of the ship is pretty good, and the concealment is pretty good. This is a fully concealed build. I may have seen or heard of players running not a fully concealed build because it has smoke. To me, the fully concealed build builds on itself. It allows for better anti-submarine because you can get closer to them before they spot you. Whenever you don't have your smoke, you don't feel like you've given up too much in that time frame while it's coming off a cooldown, or there's no solid cover like an island. So, to me, full conceal is the way to go if you ever want to face off against a smaller ship with better concealment. Now, for the equipment that you can use on the ship, it's pretty self-explanatory. Main armament mod 1, I would definitely choose. Slot 2, it recommends engine room protection. I haven't really noticed that the engine or the steering get knocked out frequently. But the other options aren't much better. You could extend the duration of Hydra, I guess, but it's not really necessary. You have more than enough charges of hydroacoustic in your normal battle scenario. For slot 3, it recommends faster turret traverse because that is a weakness inherent to Commonwealth cruisers. They all have slow turret traverse. However, turret traverse doesn't help you if your gun is already traversed on a target. That's where aiming system mod 1 comes in, giving that improved shell dispersion even. And I think over the course of a battle, this is probably going to add up more than the faster turret traverse. You just don't have many times where you need to traverse your guns. With smoke and how you would play this line a little bit more cautiously, unless of course it's a submarine or maybe a destroyer in the area, it really synergizes well with it. They do have submarine surveillance mod 1 as an option, but cruisers get it instantly activated at the beginning of the game, and you're not going to very much need it to come off a cooldown quicker subsequently. It's just not the nature of submarine warfare. Usually they sail, or I guess they try and move away from your position very quickly. You could consider smoke generator. This is a smoker, but I think that making your guns more destructive is ultimately where you should go. Slot 4, this is a former British ship, but it does not come with the propulsion mod 1 baked in, and because you're playing around with smoke, you definitely need to improve your acceleration. So I think this is an easy choice for the Encounter and all of the Commonwealth cruisers. Slot 5, concealment, again, easy choice. There's really not a better choice there. Slot 6, yes, the turret traverse is horrible, but the rate of fire is worth it. You don't have enough torpedoes that you're going to get value from this, really. The range of the guns don't really allow for maximum optimized fire because it's not British or American level of shell arc, but it's pretty close, and you can't really hit the max range against an active dodger. So against a good player, this is going to have less value, and it might even bait you into taking more damage because obviously your gun blooms out to the maximum range of the gun. So it just extends the range that a stray ship could keep you detected for the enemy team. And yeah, rate of fire, easy choice. All the consumables armament, this has high explosive, this has armor piercing, this has torpedoes. They do not allow for single launch like the Brits would, but they work well and you can stealth torpedo, so you can send them in lanes or choke points to try and deny it. As far as consumables are concerned, you have damage control party. It's pretty decent. We have a choice between defensive AA or hydroacoustic search. Hydroacoustic search is a little bit more universal. You do spend a lot of time around smoke, so having that early warning for torpedoes incoming is always a nice bonus. It's obviously good against submarines versus anti-air, so this just makes you a better anti-submarine cruiser. Now, the unique smoke generator that the Commonwealth cruisers get to make use of is crawling smoke. This is not exhaust smoke like the Italians, but if you run at a force speed, it will billow out before you are detected, so you can move around. And because of that movement, it's harder to nail down a torpedo send towards these guys. It gets kind of frustrating. So you do have to play a little bit of chicken by getting closer to these guys to reliably land torpedoes. If you're too close, you're right in range of high explosive 203s, which will easily knock out any torpedo launching ships very, very quickly. Plus, if it's a submarine, you got depth charge damage as well that'll add on top of it. You can easily 100-0 a submarine with 1 or 2 salvos plus all of your depth charges. Then we got submarine surveillance. It's 8 kilometer range, which is nice. It lasts for 20 seconds, which is also decent. And then the final one, we've got repair party. It's not British repair party. It's not like a super heal. It's a decent heal. It can't replace smoke, and smoke can't replace heal. You need to use both of these defensive skills, sort of every other, alternate between them to get the most out of them so you can last the full 20 if the battle does go that long. And then if we take a look at the skills that I've chosen, because the Commonwealth cruisers are so vulnerable to fire, I really feel strongly that incoming fire alert is the best 1-point skill you can take. It just gives you instant information for when a shell is coming your way, and when you get that instant information, you can then create a dodge scenario where you avoid the shells incoming. Definitely feel like that is the best skill you can take on a cruiser line, just due to the nature of the amount of targets that are trying to kill you and the amount of health and armor that you actually have. For slot 2, I really actually like Demo Expert. It enhances your anti-submarine, and it gives you 1 extra percentage of high explosive fire chance. So it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. For the next points, and someone's typing to me, but for the 3rd level, you really can choose between Superintendent or Adrenaline Rush. Both have value. Obviously, I've taken both. I would say Superintendent has more value because it enhances 4 consumables, and you pretty much need all of them. If in the ideal game, there will be like 2 submarines that you can go out and hunt, and 4 charges is nice for that. Same with Hydro. But you'll also have to deal with crawling smoke, battleships firing at you, anti-aircraft, so having the extra charges really helps make it more impactful on the game. And then this is so far, we're up to 6 points invested so far. And for the next 4, Concealment Expert. It's very straightforward. Take Concealment Expert. There's really no reason you would take anything in the 4th level over this. You just wouldn't. And then from there, you can really pick and choose what you feel like is most important. Do you dislike the gun traversal? Well, take 1 point in grease gears. I mean, 1 point for 15%. Can't really argue with that. Do you feel like you take too much damage? Well, maybe if you take too much damage, spend 3 points for Adrenaline Rush. It's going to enhance your damage output, and it's going to improve your anti-submarine as well. That's a win-win as well. I also really like radiolocation. It's probably the #1 anti-submarine skill that you can take in the game. Obviously, battleships cannot equip this, neither can submarines or aircraft carriers, but cruisers and destroyers can use this skill. And if I'm focused on anti-sub, radio location is the way to go. It will pick them up when they're at periscope depth and also on the surface. So if they pop up, you will know immediately, oh, this has to be a submarine. Why would it switch 90 degrees facing the other direction if it wasn't any, if it was something other than a sub? It wouldn't. So radiolocation is a great telltale anti-submarine skill. And then for me, the last 3 points, I like focus fire training. It's a very broad 2-point skill that gives me anti-AA improvement. It also enhances my airstrike consumable, so it's going to come off a cooldown faster, so I can use it more frequently against submarines. It's very good for that. And then for my 1-point skill, we take this consumable specialist. Look at all the consumables that it enhances. It does not enhance damage control party or repair party, but everything else is enhanced. Crawling smoke, submarine surveillance, hydroacoustic. It's really a no-brainer. It's 1 point and you get 7.5 off. The game recommends you take top grade gunner and survivability expert. Both make sense. They're kind of pushing you closer to the front line so that this is active. And then by being close to the front line, you would take more damage. So you need more health because you do only have so much health. It's not a lot. This is definitely almost like a light cruiser, heavy cruiser with the amount of armor that it has versus the firepower that it brings. It also, for some reason, recommends last stand. I haven't had trouble with my maneuvering or my engine, but maybe it will reveal itself over time that this is indeed a crippling effect. I just haven't seen that while playing them. But yeah, that is Encounter. Encounter also comes with the option to equip permanent camouflage. Oh yeah, the flag that you have is the Australian flag, which looks like 3 or 4 other Royal Navy flags. So sorry it doesn't have, like a little mini Aussie flag in the top left-hand corner of the screen. You can't really tell this against the New Zealand flag or I think another one, but it's from Australia. You can always rock, and I don't know why it's pointing there. You can always rock the Commonwealth flag, but I just like the localized flag for it because this is the flag that they would fly in naval combat. The permanent camouflage situation is the following. So Encounter has this solid color look. Okay, not spectacular. It doesn't seem to come with a premium camouflage option that, I don't want to link that, that is available on the servers. For example, if you were to early access, this is what it looks like on the servers. And I think it's just because Australia gets the Encounter and Australia gets Cerberus. So if you have to choose between getting a premium camo for a tier 9 or a tier 10, you're probably going to choose the tier 10 because that's the one you'll play more frequently over time. So there's not really a consideration that you need to, pick it up early for early access. I'm going to miss out on a permanent camouflage. Well, no, this is always going to be available as long as the ship is available. It's just at a discount right now if you want to take advantage of it. So yeah, otherwise it looks pretty cool overall. I do miss the extra 3 guns, but there's almost no armor to hit on the back half. So let's say the enemy misses really bad and you're moving at a high rate of speed. The shells that he misses will most likely land on the back half, and there's very little armor for it to actually intersect with. So a lot of times they might just whiff completely or hit the gun turret or something like that. So if you're firing at encounter, you kind of want to make sure that it lands at the forward position of the ship more often than not, so that you have a higher probability of doing damage to it. Now, I'm going to show off a replay in the encounter, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that. So this is the replay. We have an aircraft carrier, 6 battleships, 2 cruisers, and 3 destroyers in this matchup. So there's no submarines. This is sort of a worst case scenario for an anti-submarine build with the Commonwealth Cruisers. I think it's a great opportunity to show this off. And honestly, it's a pretty difficult game with so much heavy firepower. Remember, 152 millimeter Citadel on the outside of the ship that fills up 50% of your hull. It's very vulnerable to direct fire, so you don't want to get into a bad situation where you have no choice but to take direct fire. And, in this matchup, I am curious to see how it works out on this map. I haven't played this map with the Commonwealth Cruisers yet, but I think it's going to be pretty successful just because due to the nature of the map, there's a lot of islands around it, and crawling smoke or smoke generating in any regard is a very useful trait to have when playing around islands. Plus, Propulsion Mod 1, it does allow you for more successful play. So I like it overall, and hopefully this game shows well for everyone. But you can clearly see the turret traverse is just a little bit slow. Back gun is slowly traversing into position. Just sailing away. We've got friendlies in the chat being pretty nice. I'm always appreciative of you guys being polite and just enjoying your time playing the game. Life is hard enough. Let's not make the game any harder. Just be respectful, and, if someone's mean and a jerk, well, ignore them, report them, and move on. It's not worth your time to get frustrated when dealing with that type of person. But the enemy midway, he puts down an anti-air fighter, and I obviously want to shoot it down so it is not spotting. Now, we do take fire initially, and because of that, I decide to activate crawling smoke. We are a little bit visible, so I was a little afraid of what might happen, but I wanted to take this opportunity to punish the Napoli as he's trying to move aggressively into the B position. Definitely wouldn't recommend, like, for instance, me going towards B point. It's not because smoke is very useful for that. It's just I don't have any outs when I don't have smoke. And this is too vulnerable when you don't have smoke. But when you do have smoke, it's pretty outstanding. And again, taking Superintendent will allow you to take another smoke, which to me, if it only enhanced your smoke charges, it would be worth it for Commonwealth Cruisers. So it's hard to argue with taking that. Friendlies do spot out the enemy Groningen, which is an enemy destroyer that doesn't have torpedoes. So I can afford to be a little aggressive against him. We do miss with the first salvo against him, but I readjust my aim, hoping to damage him a little bit. Enemy Napoli is trying to get the hell out of dodge there, and we're trying to punish his broadside position. Now, in this situation, I could have switched to armor piercing because of the broadside. However, I would miss out on the opportunity to set a fire. And by setting a fire, I have the chance to keep the target in a more vulnerable state because obviously his detection's worse. And it does add up and give me damage. Now, we know for a fact that my damage isn't counting up anymore. The Napoli has chosen to use damage control party. There's absolutely no way that my fire would have already dissipated naturally. It was 100% induced by that consumable usage. But smoke is worn out. I head towards a more solid cover. I activate hydroacoustic. Hopefully maybe the enemy Groningen decides to sail close to the island, although I don't know that he will. My teammates spot out an enemy Shimakaze, and I just want to punish this guy hardcore. The Commonwealth Cruisers are great for this. Ooh, he's got to avoid torpedoes. He takes one torpedo. We adjust our aim. We only land one shell from the adjusted aim. He activates smoke, but we have a perfect shot on him, full accuracy. And we actually land a fire. Now, we'll check in the top right if it's still going on, and I fire another blind shot in that area. Let's see if we catch him. We don't catch him, but the fire is still set to the target. So let's keep track of that. While that's going on, we can fire on the Napoli, and we have solid cover in this position. So a lot of times, the Commonwealth Cruisers need to... Ooh, nice. We burned down the Shima. The Commonwealth Cruisers need to make use of islands to give them enough survivability to make it to the next cycle of crawling smoke. My radio location is also pointing this direction, so to me, there must be an enemy ship out in the open in around B point. I don't want to come fully around the island, though. I don't want to be detected and seen. There's too many battleships in this game. They all have range on the midpoint of the map. You got to be careful. So instead of moving towards B point, because there was a Jean Bar that looked like he was headed there, I decided to back up and maybe set up a broadside. There is an Iowa that was actively spotted heading into C point. There's actually another ship that is already in C point right now. Hanover made a appearance that he was headed there. So most likely that is the ship that is capturing. Now we do get to take advantage of the Shimakaze smoke that's still billowed out, so it can block direct line to the Iowa. So I'm just going to try and farm some high explosive. And you'll note enemy aircraft spots us out. Because of that, I'm activating crawling smoke. I sent my torpedoes down a high traffic area, hoping that I'll land them on someone. And while all that's going on, the Iowa wanted to put out a fire, so we're going to try and get another fire set to the target, which we do get a single fire. Would love to get a second fire. We get one torpedo, two torpedo, three torpedo hits. I wonder if the Hanover did not have hydro running. That would be a really unfortunate situation for him. We land another broadside that lands some fire. And fortunately, we get the last tick of damage with our fires that we set, and we get a kill on the enemy Iowa. And sure enough, yeah, it was 100% the Hanover. He took tons of damage. Sure, he regrets moving out without hydroacoustic. We just got fortunate. Maybe the window was either he chose not to use it or it was already on cooldown because he had used it. I really like the torpedo system that comes equipped on the Commonwealth Cruisers. You know, you don't have to overinvest in it by taking commander skills. You can just use the equipment as it naturally exists and it will be valuable inherently. So really happy that the Commonwealth Cruisers work the way they do. Now, I tried to move out of the smoke, anticipating Hanover might have hydroacoustic search, and he's probably pushing into me. And the way that he sails around these torpedoes is a tell. It's a tell that he's aware that there are torpedoes in the water, and I shouldn't sail out and take them in the broadside. So he actually ducks behind cover, which is really fortunate for himself, but it does allow for my teammates to just fire on him constantly from the behind the the island there. We do take a bomb from Midway, which does do significant damage and it does set fire. I am in a little bit of a squirrely position. Who knows how long that smoke is going to last, and if the Hanover wanted to, he could sail around this island and he could punch right through my armor and get into my citadel, and we would die very quick to a point-blank battleship. He does choose to be cautious, and hopefully that was induced by the torpedoes, which, funny enough, they're off of cooldown again, so we'll be able to use the same torpedo that we used just, a minute ago. And because of the position that he looks like he might be headed backwards to maybe get back into the B cap area, maybe use more solid cover. I'm not quite sure what the Hanover's thinking. Meanwhile, the enemy small end is attempting to capture A point. He is spotted. But I really just need to try and take these battleships out safely. The Hanover's popping his head out. We do get one fire set. Thankfully, the Hanover decides to fire on the Hindenburg, so I know that salvo will not be firing on me. Another advantage of incoming fire alert, it does verify if the target is actually shooting at you or just shooting towards your area. He did get a second fire, but he chose to use his damage control to put it out. My friendly Hindenburg is taking fire, and it's not good, but it's not towards me, so it's effectively my own smoke island adventure. So I'm just going to continue to fire on cooldown. Hopefully, we'll get a fire set, or maybe 3. The other side of the map, we've got a Georgia that decided to push all the way into the enemy base. I don't know what he's thinking. That seems really irresponsible because he will just get wiped out. It's really bad that there is a we have a 2-base disadvantage, and the 3rd base is being captured, but we do have more points overall. So, if we can wear out some of these ships quickly, we could take B point. Maybe the gearing can go capture C point. There's a lot of things left in the match, and I'm doing decent damage against the enemy target, but man, we show enough side that the Jean Bar can punish, and he punished us badly. So badly that I instantly activated my smoke. I activated my heal. I am desperate to try and hide. And just so precise. You have to be so precise to have solid cover, smoke, heal, active dodge, all going. Because if you don't have it with your Commonwealth cruisers, great big battleships and super heavy cruisers will punish you dearly. But we're going to try and punish Jean Bar as he was being overly aggressive. Maybe he wasn't familiar with me, or he wants to deal with Colombo. Either way, he's out in the open, taking direct fire from every which way. And the Thunderer got knocked out, so that's great. We set another fire on the enemy Jean Bar. My torpedoes will not be successful because he chose not to continue moving forward. That's okay. They don't need to be successful. They come off a cooldown so frequently, they can be used all the time as spacing and choke point denying damage source. And I really like the place that the torpedo systems for the Commonwealth cruisers are so far. Our radio location changed its heading more towards the Azuma. I don't think the Azuma is the target it is focused on. Yes. So we have 10.9 kilometer. Hydroacoustic is going to spot out the torpedoes. Awesome. 10.5 kilometer detection with my build. So that means that the enemy Groningen, he is within 10.5 of my ship. Midway takes out Colombo. Not surprised. Battleships in the center at B point usually last not very long. They get wiped out quickly. But I've got to try and affect the match because it can get out of hand very quickly. So I'm just going to work on this guy and just actively dodge as much as I can. Knowing that I can sail away from the enemy Groningen, the small end last spotted was over by A point. He's actually closed ranks so much that my radio location's pointing towards him. And he is indeed right next to us. So he decides to open up. Best thing you can do, sail away from the enemy additional threats while making sure your main battery can affect your primary, which is the small end. And he's trying to wear us out before our heal and our smoke come off a cooldown. And honestly, he's doing a really good job. I don't know that I'm going to make this. I am desperate to avoid incoming shells. Gearing takes out the grunt again, which is great. Kind of distracts. But the small end decides, I'm just going to sail away from you, and I'm not going to continue firing on you. But we do set another fire on him while the Azuma is pushing into the gearing. Now, the gearing needs to either run away or get inside of smoke. I think that the Azuma is using hydroacoustic, which is not good. So I'm over here thinking, it would be great if the gearing could survive to capture B. That would be absolutely what we need. We're actively trying to capture C point. The Hindenburg's going after the Midway. I don't have to worry about aircraft keeping me detected. I just have to focus on dealing with the Azuma while he's focused on the gearing, and he drops off detection. So that tells me the gearing does not have line of sight. Well, I would love the aircraft carrier to keep the Azuma spotted. And I wish I communicated in this moment, hey, aircraft carrier, can you go directly to the Azuma, keep him spotted so I can continue firing my guns on him. Majestic Waters is trying to sail away. Hindenburg takes out the Midway. Nice. But we're really in a bad situation. The enemy has had 3 bases for a while. They're actively coming up. We have low-held targets that, if they die, they're going to instantly give the enemy points that are going to be helpful to turn the tide in their favor. We've already racked up 200,000 damage, which is great. You would expect that with so many battleships. And there's only 2 enemy ships left, the small end and the Azuma. So either the Azuma or the small end being detected would be valuable. And my radar location is still pointing towards Azuma. So I think the Azuma has decided he is going to sail inside of smoke to avoid my friendly aircraft carrier spotting him. Teammates are capturing C point. I am sailing back towards B in an attempt to sort of meet up with my teammate and cut off the Azuma at the pass and try and shoot him broadside, but I'm not getting there as fast, nor is the aircraft fighter spotting enough. And of course the gearing is spotted. Of course the gearing sends out torpedoes. And of course the Azuma, any second now Azuma, he knocks him out. Something that just should not have happened. The gearing did not need to die there. We just needed to make the Azuma overcommit, and sure enough, friendly battleship knocks him out. Nice even trade. And because of that, I'm going to change my direction and head straight for B. I was hoping to go wide, get maybe a broadside, because I'm very close to dying too, and I don't want to get too close to the Azuma that my smoke is useless if I need to rely on it to protect myself. But we're going to sail towards B point. We're going to try and capture the base. And I'm going to sail away from B towards the small end, hopefully transition towards him. And hopefully the aircraft carrier will have him spotted. But there's no promises. And we're just trying our best. If it wasn't for the Jean Bar landing such a brutal broadside, I would have been able to be far, far more aggressive. That single broadside really changed my game from one where I could head towards A point confidently to one where I needed to turn back around, give ground, and wait on some defensive cooldowns. And that's just inherent with the Commonwealth Cruisers. You've got to try and compensate for their soft armor and soft protection. But my team is trying to capture B point. I am trying to assist the aircraft carrier by telling him roughly where my radio location is pointing so that he can try and find the small end. And I'm really hopeful that he finds him because he's really there. Yeah, there we go. Great job. Unfortunately, look at the time. There is only 1 minute left in this match. It's not looking like we're going to be able to capture, get the small end taken out before the game ends. Now, one thing that's kind of confusing I swear that the enemy team at this point had a point advantage. And I was actually desperate to get him. So I'm confused why the points being read by the replay show that my team has a huge advantage on points. I swear that this was not the case, and indeed, they're even talking about Solo Warrior for the small end. So something has happened that makes the replay not precise enough. But at this point, the enemy team has more points than my team. But it doesn't make any sense. And I'm watching the replay and I'm thinking, we have a huge advantage. But yeah, at this point, it was a loss for us. And somehow we lost this game with a 300-point advantage. See that? So confusing. But I remember playing out the game and being concerned that we were losing. So in the battle, we were losing, but somewhere in the replay, it lost its way or something like that. We did an awesome job, though. Over 200,000 damage, 3 torpedoes, 2 kills, 17 fires. A great fire farming line if you need that for a mission or something like that. We got Dreadnought and Confederate. So, you know, we got an assisted capture as well. Overall, we did a great job. Small end, he earns a Solo Warrior. And the Midway did a great job for his team as well. But we would have gotten a pretty good base XP game if not for losing the game. And I blame myself a little bit because I could have been more aware of my surroundings and not gotten into a sticky situation like I did. 52,000 points of damage from fire, 30,000 from torpedoes, and then 121 from direct high explosive damage. So overall, the encounter is an interesting encounter on the high seas. Very fun to play. I like the Commonwealth Cruiser line. They are very rewarding to hunt submarines, and I know I haven't had a game where there's been 3 submarines for me to hunt, but trust me, the Cerberus, you will definitely be afraid of this if you're a submarine, and if you are playing in a Commonwealth Cruiser, you will look forward to facing submarines because you were that much better against them than other cruisers or other battleships or even other destroyers in the match. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this replay. Leave in the comments what you think overall of the ship and what you think of the video. I hope to have an Auckland video up on the channel at some point, but I'm not putting a timetable on it. I'm just trying to make good content that is going to stand the test of time. So thanks again. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all next time.